Imagine this, you're a local cop, just another night on the job, patrolling the streets, when you pull over a black SUV for a routine traffic stop. The driver rolls down the window, and something immediately feels off. He's calm, too calm. You ask for his license and registration, but instead of fumbling for his wallet like most people, he just smirks and says, "I wouldn't do that if I were you." Now, in most cases, that kind of response sets off alarm bells. You start running his plates, but before you can even process what's happening, a second unmarked car pulls up. Two men step out, dark suits, no badges in sight. They walk right up, and one of them leans in close. His voice is low, controlled, almost too polite. "Officer," he says, "you need to let him go." At this point, every instinct is screaming that something isn't right. You were just doing your job. So why does it feel like you just stepped into something way bigger than a traffic stop? You press for answers, ask for ID. That's when he pulls out a badge. Not a police badge, not state or local. FBI. But here's where it gets weird. The badge is real. The name checks out. And yet, something in his eyes tells you that this is no ordinary agent. Because why would an FBI agent be driving under the radar in your city with no backup, no explanation, and more importantly, why is he acting like being arrested isn't even an option? This isn't a movie. This kind of thing happens more often than you'd think, because here's the uncomfortable truth. Certain people move through the system differently. Some people don't get arrested, not in the way the rest of us do. And when local law enforcement crosses paths with federal agents, things don't always go by the book. That's exactly what happened in one of the most bizarre law enforcement encounters in recent history. An officer, just like the one in this story, thought he was making a routine arrest. But what happened next changed his entire career, and it raised serious questions about how much power federal agencies really have. What if I told you that making the wrong arrest could put your own badge, your career, even your freedom, at risk? What if I told you that not every FBI agent is who they claim to be? And most importantly, what happens when the truth is something you were never meant to see? Stick around, because this story only gets crazier from here. You won't believe what happened next. The officer stood frozen for a moment, his hand hovering near his holster, his training at war with the situation in front of him. The man in the driver's seat wasn't resisting, wasn't panicked. He wasn't acting like anyone who'd just been pulled over. And the two men who had arrived weren't asking, they were telling. "Step away from the vehicle," one of them said, his voice steady, controlled. His suit was crisp, expensive, the kind of detail you'd notice if you were trained to read people. The way he carried himself, the way his partner stood behind him, silent but alert, it was clear they were used to getting what they wanted. The officer hesitated. He had a job to do. The driver hadn't identified himself yet, and protocol was protocol. But something about the way these men looked at him, like he wasn't even a factor in the situation, sent a cold ripple through his gut. "This is a traffic stop," the officer finally said, his voice firm but measured. "I need identification from the driver. If he's FBI, then I need confirmation from my dispatch." The taller man sighed, like he'd been through this before. He reached into his jacket, slowly, deliberately, and pulled out an ID wallet. He flipped it open, revealing a gleaming FBI badge. The name on it read **Agent Mark Dalton**. The other man did the same, showing an identical credential. **Agent James Rourke**. But something felt wrong. The officer had seen federal IDs before. They were usually flashed quickly, held up for just long enough to see the badge and the letters. These guys weren't rushing him. They were letting him take it all in, almost like they wanted him to stare at it. The officer took a breath. He had two choices: let this go or push back. If these men were really FBI, then there should be a record. He stepped back, pressing the button on his radio. "Dispatch, I need a confirmation on two federal agents, Dalton and Rourke. Badge numbers." Before he could finish, Dalton stepped closer, lowering his voice. "I wouldn't do that if I were you." The way he said it, casual, almost amused, sent another chill through the officer's spine. The driver in the SUV still hadn't spoken. He just sat there, watching, his expression unreadable. Dispatch crackled back over the radio. "Hold on, officer. Running the check now." Dalton tilted his head slightly, as if considering something. Then, after a brief pause, he nodded to Rourke. And just like that, the second agent reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone, and started dialing. The officer swallowed hard. He knew that once he made a decision, there was no turning back. His gut screamed at him to stall, buy himself a few more seconds, anything to gather more information. "You understand how this looks, right?" he said, directing his words toward Dalton. "Two unmarked vehicles, a traffic stop that suddenly doesn't matter, and now my own department is telling me to stand down without explanation." Dalton sighed, rubbing his temple like he was getting tired of the conversation. "Look, officer." A sharp noise cut through the night. Not a gunshot, not a siren, something else. A high-pitched click, almost electronic. The officer's muscles tensed, and his hand instinctively drifted toward his holster. It came from the SUV. For the first time, the driver moved. Not much, just the slightest shift of his head, but it was enough. Enough to send a ripple of tension through Dalton and Rourke, enough for the officer to know, without a doubt, that whatever was happening had just changed . Dalton moved first. "That's it," he muttered under his breath, barely loud enough to hear. He took a step toward the driver's door, one hand disappearing inside his jacket. Rourke mirrored him, eyes locked on the man in the SUV. The officer had seen this kind of movement before, not from federal agents, but from men who knew exactly when a situation was about to explode. "Step out of the vehicle," Dalton ordered, his voice lower now, sharper. Not the calm, smooth authority from before. This was something else, something urgent. The driver didn't move. The officer felt his heart slam against his ribs. He wasn't just a bystander in this anymore. This had gone beyond a routine stop, beyond jurisdiction. He had a choice: intervene, demand answers, risk stepping into something way above his pay grade, or do nothing and watch whatever was about to unfold happen without him. Dalton's hand was fully inside his jacket now. The officer knew what that meant, and whatever was coming next, it was about to happen fast. Before the officer could react, everything happened at once. Dalton yanked something from his jacket. Not a gun, but a small black device no bigger than a pager. He slammed his thumb against it, and instantly the SUV's engine cut off. No sound, no flicker of headlights, just dead silence, . The driver inhaled sharply, the first real sign of emotion he had shown all night. It wasn't fear, it was frustration, like a man whose carefully laid-out plan had just gone sideways. Out of the car, Dalton repeated, his voice lower now, edged with something that almost sounded like concern. "Now." Still, the driver didn't move. His fingers curled around the steering wheel, white-knuckled, as if holding on was the only control he had left. The officer's own hand hovered near his holster, unsure whether he was about to witness an arrest, an escape, or something far worse. Then, from the distance, headlights, a second vehicle. Black, unmarked, moving fast. Dalton's expression shifted, and for the first time the officer saw it. Uncertainty, whatever was happening, he wasn't fully in control of it. The SUV's driver exhaled, long and slow. "You should have let me go," he muttered, almost to himself. And then finally, he moved not to open the door, not to comply, but to reach for something . The officer didn't think. He reacted . "Hands where I can see them," he shouted, stepping forward, one hand gripping the handle of his gun, but not drawing it. Asterisk, asterisk, not yet, asterisk, asterisk. Dalton and Rourke moved too, but the moment was too fast, too chaotic. The approaching vehicle's tires screeched as it came to an abrupt stop just feet away. The doors swung open before the engine had fully died. And asterisk, asterisk, more men stepped out, asterisk, asterisk, not in suits, not like Dalton and Rourke. These men moved differently. Asterisk, asterisk, tactically, asterisk, asterisk, black gear. No markings, no hesitation. Dalton's posture stiffened, just barely, but the officer caught it. Asterisk, asterisk, whoever these men were, he hadn't been expecting them, asterisk, asterisk. Agent Dalton, one of them called out, voice clipped, professional. Step away from the vehicle. Dalton didn't move. The officer's breath hitched. Asterisk, asterisk, what the hell was this, asterisk, asterisk? The driver in the SUV finally turned his head, looking straight at the officer for the first time. His expression was unreadable, calculated, but his next words sent an asterisk, asterisk, cold wave, asterisk, asterisk through his chest. They're not here for me, he said quietly. They're here for him. And suddenly, just like that, asterisk, asterisk, everything the officer thought he understood about this moment flipped upside down, asterisk, asterisk. The officer barely had time to process what the driver had just said before everything spiraled out of control. Seconds later, the officer's radio crackled again. But this time, the voice on the other end was different. Not his usual dispatcher, someone else. Officer, the new voice said, you need to release them. Now. The officer's grip on his belt tightened. His pulse picked up. Who am I speaking with? He asked. Silence. Then the voice spoke again, slow and deliberate. This is bigger than you. Let them go. The officer glanced back at the men in suits. They were waiting, patient, like they already knew how this was going to play out. His gut screamed at him. This wasn't right. But what was he supposed to do? Ignore a direct order. Arrest a federal agent. The weight of the moment pressed down on him, the realization settling in. This wasn't just about a traffic stop. It wasn't even about who these men were. It was about power, and who really had it. Because if the law didn't apply to them, who else was untouchable? And more importantly, asterisk, asterisk, why asterisk, asterisk? The officer's heart pounded as his fingers hovered near his radio. His instincts told him something was seriously wrong, but the pressure in the air made it clear. He was outnumbered, outmaneuvered. The two agents hadn't moved, hadn't shown any aggression, but their presence alone carried a weight that didn't belong on a routine traffic stop. The driver still hadn't spoken, and that silence was eating away at him. Most people in this situation would be nervous, maybe even defensive, but this man? He sat completely still, eyes locked on the rearview mirror, almost like he was waiting for something. Not permission, not an escape, just waiting. Dispatch, the officer tried again, ignoring the voice that had ordered him to stand down. I need confirmation on those badge numbers. Who's giving me this directive? There was a pause, too long, too unnatural. Then a familiar voice, his original dispatcher, came back on. But this time she sounded off. Officer, we've been advised to let this go. The pit in his stomach deepened. Asterisk, asterisk advised, asterisk, asterisk by who? Since when did local law enforcement take orders like this without explanation? He clenched his jaw, stepping back slightly. You're saying this came from the Bureau? Another pause. Then, I can't say, but you're being told to disengage. The words sent a wave of unease through him. Not asterisk, asterisk, ordered asterisk, 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 told asterisk, asterisk. Carefully chosen words. Words that made it clear that whatever this was, even his own department wasn't going to touch it. Dalton exhaled slowly, shaking his head like he'd seen this all before. You're a good cop, he said, his voice quiet, almost sympathetic. I respect that. But some things? He glanced at his partner, before looking the officer dead in the eye. "They're above your clearance." Clearance. The word alone was enough to send the officer's mind racing. This wasn't about jurisdiction anymore. This was about access, information, the kind of knowledge that could bury a career if you asked too many questions. But something still wasn't adding up. Why was a supposedly untouchable federal agent driving through a quiet part of town in the middle of the night, without backup, without an escort? And why did two other agents have to show up just to make sure he wasn't taken in? The officer turned his gaze back to the driver. And that's when he saw it, the first real crack in the man's calm. A flicker of something in his expression, not fear, not worry, but impatience, He wasn't worried about being arrested. He was just waiting for this to be over. And that's when it hit him. This wasn't about the badge or the arrest. It was about time. Whatever this man was involved in, whatever was at stake, it was happening right now. And every second wasted here, every second spent arguing over protocol, was delaying something far more important. The officer's grip tightened on his belt. He could feel it in his gut. If he let this man go, if he backed down, he might never know what was really going on. But if he pushed further, if he took this even one step beyond where it had already gone, would he even get the chance to find out the air between them was thick with unspoken warnings? The officer's mind raced, weighing his options, but every choice led him back to the same uneasy conclusion. He was in over his head. Yet, he couldn't shake the feeling that if he let this go, if he stepped aside without pushing just a little further, he might regret it for the rest of his life. Dalton, still standing just a few feet away, adjusted his suit jacket and glanced down the road, as if checking the time without looking at a watch. Rourke, his silent partner, remained unreadable, but there was something in the way he kept his hands in his pockets, the slight shift in his stance. They were waiting for something, or someone. Dalton's jaw tightened, but he didn't step away. His hand hovered over the small black device he had used to kill the SUV's engine, fingers twitching like he was weighing his options. Rourke, still silent, shifted slightly, positioning himself between Dalton and the approaching men. The men in tactical gear moved with precision, weapons still holstered, but hands resting near them, their postures screaming authority. The one who had spoken took another step forward. "I won't ask again, Agent Dalton. Step away from the vehicle." Dalton let out a slow breath, eyes darting between the driver and the officer, like he was silently calculating an exit strategy. Then, in a move so fast it barely registered, he reached into his jacket. The officer's training kicked in. Instinct took over. Gun. He moved before thinking, drawing his own weapon and leveling it at Dalton. Hands where I can see them. Now The tension cracked like a live wire. Rourke's hand shot to his own weapon, but before he could draw, two of the tactical men rushed him, pinning him against the SUV in a single fluid motion. The driver still hadn't moved, his eyes locked on Dalton, watching, waiting. Dalton's fingers stopped just short of his pocket. Slowly, carefully, he raised both hands, but his face gave away nothing. He wasn't afraid. He wasn't even angry. If anything, he looked disappointed. "This isn't how this was supposed to go," he muttered. The officer's grip on his gun tightened. "Somebody start explaining what's going on. Right now." No one answered. The tactical men moved with eerie coordination, disarming Rourke, forcing Dalton back against the SUV. It was over. Or at least it should have been. And then the driver smiled. Not relief, not gratitude, something else, something that made the officer's skin crawl. He turned his head slightly, just enough to make eye contact with Dalton. Took them long enough. Dalton exhaled sharply, shaking his head like he should have seen this coming. "You think this means you're safe," he said, voice quiet, almost amused. The driver's smirk didn't fade. "I think it means you lost." The officer's stomach dropped. because just then, one of the tactical men reached into the SUV and pulled something from under the driver's seat. Asterisk asterisk a small, nondescript flash drive asterisk asterisk. And in that moment, the officer realized something terrifying. This wasn't just about an arrest. It wasn't about a traffic stop or jurisdiction, or who had authority over who. This was a power struggle, a game being played at a level he was never meant to witness. Dalton had been trying to keep the driver from escaping. Asterisk asterisk, but not because he was dangerous, because he knew something asterisk asterisk, and now that information was in someone else's hands. The driver stretched his fingers, relaxed now, like the fight was already over. He glanced at the officer, offering him something that almost looked like pity. "You were just doing your job," he said. "Wrong place, wrong time." The officer swallowed hard, his gun still in his hands, though now it felt useless. Dalton and Rourke were escorted toward the black vehicles, their expressions unreadable. No one resisted, no one fought back. But as the door slammed shut behind them, Dalton locked eyes with the officer one last time. And then he smiled, not in defeat, but like he knew something asterisk asterisk none of them did asterisk asterisk. The officer stood frozen, his grip still tight around his gun, even though he knew the moment for action had passed. The black vehicles were already pulling away, the headlights vanishing into the night, taking Dalton and Rourke with them. The driver sat motionless in the SUV, his expression unreadable, as if he was letting it all sink in. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The weight of what had just happened pressed down on the officer's chest like a stone. He had started the night trying to do his job, enforce the law, keep the streets safe. But now he wasn't even sure what asterisk asterisk side asterisk asterisk he had been on. Finally, the driver turned his head and studied him. "You should go," he said, voice calm, almost casual. "There's nothing left for you here." The officer's pulse pounded in his ears. Who were they? He asked, but the words felt hollow. He already knew he wasn't going to get a real answer. The driver exhaled, running a hand over his face, and for the first time, he looked tired. "You don't want to know," he said simply. That was the problem. He asterisk asterisk did asterisk asterisk want to know. He wanted to understand what he had just witnessed, why 2 federal agents had been taken away like criminals, why a man who should have been in handcuffs was now sitting here, untouched, still in control. But the deeper he dug, the clearer it became. Asterisk asterisk, this wasn't his world asterisk asterisk. His radio crackled to life, dispatch calling his number, asking for an update. He hesitated before reaching for it. What was he supposed to say? That 2 FBI agents had just been taken by an unidentified tactical team. That a man he should have arrested was now free, sitting in a vehicle that shouldn't even be running, despite its engine being disabled. He pressed the radio button. "Situation resolved," he said finally, his own voice sounding distant. "No further action needed." The words tasted bitter, but what else could he do? There was no way to report this without drawing attention to something much bigger than himself. He had done his part. Now it was over. The driver gave him one last look, something unreadable in his eyes. "You made the right call," he said, "even if it doesn't feel like it." The officer wasn't sure if that was true. He wasn't sure of asterisk asterisk anything asterisk asterisk anymore. Without another word, he turned and walked back to his cruiser. He could feel the weight of the driver's gaze on him, but he didn't look back. As he slid into the driver's seat, gripping the wheel tightly, he realized something unsettling. Dalton had smiled before being taken. Asterisk asterisk like he had a plan asterisk asterisk like this wasn't the end for him. The officer didn't know if he would ever see him again. He wasn't sure if he even wanted to. But something told him, asterisk asterisk, this wasn't over asterisk asterisk,